Hello everyone and welcome to 10 to 6 News for the 21st of the 1st, 2018. North Korea shocked the world this week as they decided that they would send delegates into Seoul for the pre-Olympic inspection, joining teams with South Korea in some events. North Korean delegates arrived in Seoul on Sunday, January 21st, on their way to inspect the venues and prepare cultural performances for next month's Winter Olympics. This is the first visit by Pyongyang officials to the south in over 4 years. Critics are saying the reasoning behind this is due to North Korea's escalation in nuclear arms, while others are praising the actions, saying that this is a good step forward. Bad news for those of you who want to stop climate change. 2017 was predicted to be the warmest year on record without the influence of El Nino, a natural phenomenon that can either heat or cool the world. El Nino itself often sees higher sea surface temperatures in the eastern Pacific, which then boost warmth worldwide. However, it now shows that the biggest natural influence on the climate is being dwarfed by human activities, predominantly those caused by CO2 emissions. Despite El Nino being less of an influence in 2017, NASA still estimated the year to be the second hottest year on record, while NOAA and the Met Office judged it to be the third hottest year since the records began all the way in 1850. It was an average 0.38 degrees Celsius above 1981 to 2010 on average. Better get out your sunscreen, guys. In what now seems to be becoming an annual thing, thousands of demonstrators gathered across cities all over the United States on Saturday for the annual Women's March, calling for equality and respect while urging support to make their voices heard by voting in this year's midterm elections. The larger of the marches were expected to take place in Washington, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, and other cities on Saturday, after the 1-year anniversary of Trump's inauguration. However, marches weren't limited to just the US. Over the weekend, activists gathered in cities across Europe, including London on Sunday and Rome on Saturday. But politics didn't seem to be the only thing on demonstrators' minds. The marches also coincide with the recent #MeToo and #TimesUp movement against sexual assault and harassment, which came about in October after the Harvey Weinstein scandal. Women were seen carrying signs, demonstrators voicing their support for women's rights and equality, and the cultural shift that has rocked numerous industries and communities in the past few months. Jordan Peterson was a huge influence in the media this week with his newly released book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Peterson himself first came into politics when Bill C-16 in Canada caused controversy, and he believed that it was against free speech. Both the left and right were quick to judge on Peterson, and before he knew it, he was put into politics whether he liked it or not. However, with his newly released book, again both sides seem to be having controversial views, with the left saying that he is a transphobe, and on his interview on Channel 4 with Kathy Newman, he was quickly attacked by the interviewer on multiple occasions, but he was able to keep a cool head and deflect all answers, making Kathy herself seem like a bit of a fool. However, Channel 4 then came back saying that after the interview, Kathy was then insulted by thousands of tweets, with some tweets even threatening her life. The advocates of this seem to be those on the hard right. South Africa's ruling party is intensifying pressure on President Jacob Zuma to step down and allow his deputy Cyril Ramaphosa in an effort to accelerate and stamp out corruption and restore investor confidence in the economy. Ramaphosa, a lawyer and one of the wealthiest black South Africans, is widely expected to adopt a more business-friendly policy, and his election as ANC leader helped boost the rand 10% just last month. Venezuela is back in the news as the EU prepares sanctions against the country, as officials are worried about the growing unrest. At least 7 senior figures, including the country's Interior Minister Nestor Riviera and the Chief Justice Michael Moreno, are set to be hit with asset freezes and travel bans as early as next week, according to reports. The EU is taking this move as it's raising pressures on the ground of the government of Nicolas Maduro to negotiate a solution to the crisis enveloping the oil-rich country amid a deepening crackdown on the opposition and growing unrest among the population pushed to the brink of desperation shortages of food, cash, and medicines. In a statement, they said, "The government has crushed the opposition and is guilty of human rights abuses. so we believe it is time to send a strong message. Hello Giggles wins my fake news award of the week, as they decided to put the article about the White House shared extremely staged photos of Donald Trump working during the government shutdown. For those of you who aren't aware, a government shutdown happened on Friday, January 19th, as the Democrats and Republicans couldn't reach a decision on the budget dealing circling around border security. Democrats want to protect the undocumented immigrants who arrived in the country with DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, but Republicans don't want to move forward with this without funding for border security, so the government is therefore at a standstill. This is the first shutdown that has happened since 2013 during the Obama administration. The reason why, however, Hello Giggles wins this week's award is because rather than reporting and having proof, they have merely speculated, stating that Donald Trump appears so uncomfortably posed in photos, we venture to guess that in these moments, instead of working hard, he's hardly working. We ventured a guess. Yes guys, well, I know you may not be the biggest news source around, but if you're going to report on the news, at least give us facts. Unless of course it's an opinion piece, but this is not. However, it wouldn't be fair to say that the left were the only ones guilty of fake news this week. The right too had their fair share. USA Today said that Hollywood celebs would go on total strike if Donald Trump did not resign. However, upon checking this, it is found that they did not actually announce this strike. This fake news was rumoured to be put out after the reaction from celebrities threatening to leave the US if Donald Trump became the president. People who put out this news said that people who do all the real work in Hollywood are the people who build the sets, who make the costumes, who create the props, and in some cases do the stunts and the special effects. And they're not getting bazillion-dollar deals. It's about time that these jerk-offs realise that they're not the only people in the world. The fact remains that Donald Trump is our president, whether they like it or not, and that isn't about to change. Australians are starting to admit that political donations do indeed buy access and influence. One of the groups, including the Mineral Council of Australia, in a Senate submission, admitted it does make donations to gain access to politicians. Financial Minister Matthias Cormann last month said that it's long overdue to have a crackdown on foreign donations, stating that only Australians, Australian business, Australian organisations should be able to influence the Australian elections via political donations. But there is a difference between contributing to the marketplace of ideas and using the buckets of money to directly line the coffers of political parties in a bid to gain access and influence over policy. Some are stating that these admissions are not good enough and that action should be taken instead. And now to end with something silly. That's right, it's time for the highly anticipated 2017 Fake News Awards. Bam, 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 bam. Donald Trump said on Monday, a few weeks ago, that he would release 2017's Fake News Awards, and he delivered. Below are some of the winners that just won this year's contest, including the New York Times for Paul Krugman claiming that the day that President Trump would win in his historic landslide victory, that the economy would never recover. As it turned out, the economy is actually doing better under Trump than Obama in his last few years. CNN grasped a few awards, botching dates, going on about President Trump removing a bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. This turned out to be false. The main winner of the night turned out to be CNN, but other victors also included Time, falsely reporting that President Trump removed a bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. This too turned out to be false. The Washington Post also picked up a reward for falsely reporting that President's massive sold-out rally in Pensacola, Florida, was empty. This dishonest reporter showed pictures of an empty arena hours before the crowd started to pour in. Well, that was 10 to 6 news for the 15th of the 1st to the 21st of the 1st, 2018. Thanks for watching everyone, and please leave a like and even click that subscribe button.